It wasn't the best way to start the day, at least for these employees at Kellogg's Venezuela plant in Maracay, who turned up for work to find the doors locked. A note to the 300 workers says the cereal maker is ceasing operations because of Venezuela's crippling economic crisis and social deterioration. The once wealthy oil producer is in partial default on its debt and suffering shortages of food and medicine. At nearly 13,800%, Venezuela has the highest inflation rate in the world. Its economy is expected to shrink by 15% this year, the fifth annual recession in a row, and its external debt is estimated to be around $150 billion. Kellogg hasn't stated the circumstances it's been struggling with, but many companies that left the country had difficulties getting raw materials, and price controls forced them to sell below the cost of production. Once one of its biggest markets in Latin America, Kellogg says its Venezuela factory produces 75% of breakfast cereals consumed by Venezuelans. But as even cereal now moves beyond the purchasing power of most families, Kellogg's closure is a further blow to its workers. The government is promising production will continue.
The Kellogg company will continue producing now in the hands of the working class, and we will initiate the legal actions to request the red code of the owners and shareholders so that they pay in the courts and pay in justice.
At a campaign rally ahead of Sunday's presidential election, President Nicolas Maduro called Kellogg's move illegal and said it's trying to sabotage his chances of getting re-elected.
Why are they doing it today? Because we are 4 days away from elections and they think it will spook the people. Imperialists, oligarchs, nobody can scare our people.
Maduro is looking to secure a second 6-year term in the elections, which critics and the opposition have denounced as undemocratic and illegitimate. Maduro has rejected calls to suspend the elections. But with more companies pulling out of the country and leaving their employees jobless, many people are wondering if Maduro can count on these workers' votes. Reagan, Vignes, TRT World.
Juan Carlos Lamas is in Caracas and sent us this update.
Just a few days from Sunday's elections, and these type of demonstrations are being banned. Now, the clampdown reflects the level of tension and the fact that this is an opposition that is refusing to oppose. Calls to boycott the election are only growing bigger. The opposition says this is a show of strength against what they call fraudulent elections. This after a month of seeing their leaders being imprisoned and sent into exile. 5 years have passed since President Nicolas Maduro has been running the country, and oil prices have collapsed, and Venezuela has become mired into a deep economic crisis with shortages of food, water, and medicine. Several companies and airlines have closed operations here in Venezuela. The country now has one of the world's highest levels of inflation. According to the International Monetary Fund, it's expected to reach 14,000% by the end of this year. Most of these people are also concerned about the fact that their salaries are worth no more than just $1 per month. According to the black market exchange rate, that's not even enough to buy 30 eggs. President Nicolas Maduro says that no matter what happened, the elections are going to take place, and he called on his supporters to re-elect him, and he promised to solve the deep economic crisis which many people blame him for. But it is not quite specific how President Nicolas Maduro planned to solve the deep economic crisis.
For more on this, Victoria Gaytan joins us now from New York. She's program manager at the think tank Global Americans. Victoria, great to have you on Money Talks. This latest exit by Kellogg, is it going to have any kind of bearing on Sunday's election?
Hello, Oscar. Thank you for having me. I honestly think that this pullout by Kellogg, the latest multinational to pull out of the country, is not going to have a direct impact on the election. Why? Because they are pulling out due to the economic crisis, which will continue its downturn in 2018. The economic environment in Venezuela for foreign companies such as Kellogg is unsustainable. They are finding it very difficult to find raw materials and intermediate products for their final production, and the currency controls set by the government are making the situation unbearable. People might question, well, is this going to impact further the food shortages that are already taking place in Venezuela? Analysts expect that this will not happen in the short term. The pullout by Kellogg is not going to significantly worsen the food shortages in the country, but it is a blow to the morale of people because companies like Kellogg are on the top of mind as very popular and available cereals in the country. So this is for sure a negative boost on people's morale.
Victoria, you mentioned the short term, but let's talk about a longer time frame. I mean, look, some of the other companies that have left include Clorox, Kimberly-Clark, General Mills, General Motors. What is the long-term impact on Venezuela of the departure of all of these companies?
Well, first of all, you have investment fleeing the country. This is not good, given that you have IMF projections of hyperinflation at 13,000%. I was looking at a news report yesterday, a woman in the market buying a banana that cost the same price at which she bought her house 25 years ago. So imagine that scenario. GDP is also expected to drop by 15 percentage points to this year. So if hyperinflation, the oil production is also facing a shortage. This is all very devastating, and it's only going to strengthen the economic downturn of the country. So more than the impact of these specific companies is the impact of foreign companies pulling out of the country due to the economic downturn.
You mentioned oil. That is absolutely crucial to Venezuela. That's actually kind of what's been keeping Venezuela afloat. PDVSA looks like, the state-run oil company, it looks like it might be about to default again. How damaging could that be to Venezuela and to Nicolas Maduro?
That could be terribly damaging in the first place to the economic environment in the country, and obviously secondly to Maduro. Why? Because Venezuela, let's recall that it has the largest oil reserves in the world, but now the oil production has fallen to half of what it was when Hugo Chavez became president in 1999. Oil production is estimated to be around 1.4, 1.6 million barrels per day. But it's also facing the latest lawsuits PDVSA is facing. It's putting the company in a very tight situation. And some analysts expect that it will not be able to survive the debt and eventually bailing. Will this happen? We don't know. But if it does, it's going to put Venezuela in a very tight situation, even bankruptcy.
Very quickly, Victoria, and if PDVSA goes down, does the government go down with it?
Well, obviously, both the government and the economy are both very intertwined with PDVSA. It's very difficult to predict that this would cause an exit of Maduro per se directly. What it would cause is significant push to the humanitarian and social crisis that the country is facing. Migration, food shortages, medicine, etc., and of course social conflict.
Okay, Victoria Gaytan, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you ever so much.